Africa is no longer just a continent people talk about in terms of poverty, aid, or development. Quietly, strategically, and rapidly, Africa is turning into the most important global battlefield of the 21st century, not with tanks and missiles, but with money, influence, resources, and power. Right now, the world's biggest superpowers are racing toward Africa, and this race is not accidental. Africa holds over 30% of the world's known mineral reserves: cobalt, lithium, rare earth elements, gold, oil, gas. These are not just commodities anymore. These are the building blocks of modern power. Without African minerals, there are no smartphones, no electric vehicles, no renewable energy revolution, and no advanced weapon systems. Whoever controls access to these resources controls the future. China understood this early. For more than 2 decades, China has been quietly investing in Africa, building roads, ports, railways, power plants, and digital infrastructure. But these are not charity projects. These are long-term strategic investments. Chinese companies now control or operate major ports across Africa. Chinese banks finance massive projects, often in exchange for resource access or political support. This is why many African countries now consider China their biggest trading partner. The United States, for a long time, underestimated Africa, but that is changing fast. Washington now sees Africa as critical to countering China's influence. The U.S. is increasing military cooperation, reopening diplomatic missions, and pushing new trade and investment initiatives. American tech companies are expanding into African markets, while the U.S. military strengthens its presence under the banner of counterterrorism and regional stability. Europe has its own reasons to care. Africa is directly connected to Europe's future, economically, politically, and demographically. Europe depends on African energy, especially after global energy shocks. At the same time, instability in Africa directly impacts Europe through migration and security threats. This is why France, the UK, and the EU are deeply involved, especially in North and West Africa. But Europe's influence is weakening, and many African nations are openly challenging old colonial power structures. Russia plays a different game. It doesn't build highways or offer massive development loans. Instead, Russia offers security, weapons, and political support, often to governments facing internal conflict or international pressure. Through private military groups and arms deals, Russia has gained influence in countries rich in gold, oil, and strategic positioning. In return, Russia secures resources, diplomatic allies, and global leverage. But this battle isn't just about governments. It's also about demographics. Africa has the youngest population in the world. By 2050, 1 in 4 people on Earth will be African. This means labor power, consumer markets, and political influence. Whoever wins African trust today gains a massive advantage tomorrow. Technology is another front in this battle. Control over Africa's digital infrastructure, telecom networks, undersea cables, satellites, and data centers means control over information, surveillance, and economic ecosystems. China's digital expansion, America's tech dominance, and Europe's regulatory influence are all clashing here. Even climate change plays a role. Africa is one of the most climate-vulnerable regions in the world, yet it contributes the least to global emissions. As climate impacts worsen, food security, water scarcity, and migration will increase. Superpowers know that helping or exploiting Africa's climate challenges can reshape global alliances. But here's the most important point. Africa is no longer a passive player. African nations are becoming more strategic, more assertive, and more selective. They are playing superpowers against each other, negotiating better deals, and demanding respect rather than dependency. The old narrative of Africa as a victim is slowly breaking. This is why Africa is the next global battlefield, not because of war, but because of competition. A competition for resources, influence, loyalty, and the future world order. The 21st century will not be decided only in Washington, Beijing, or Moscow. It will be decided in Lagos, Nairobi, Addis Ababa, Kinshasa, and Johannesburg. Those who fail to understand Africa's importance today will wake up tomorrow realizing they've lost the future.